Well, welcome everybody. Today is an amazing day. We get to spend, the morning with celebrity stylist Candy Shaw, who's the head of Jamison Shaw Organizations, the daughter of Jamison Shaw, who was the America's first world champion hairdresser. She's an internationally renowned hairdresser trained both in Europe and America. Her natural ability with hair color is considered to be among the best in the business. She's a platform artist who routinely performs in New York, Los Angeles, London, Paris, Amsterdam,
Oh
Rome, Berlin.
boy.
It just goes on. You're also on the
I'm
board.
tired.
You're also on the board of directors for Intercoiffure America and Canada. So welcome, Candy.
Thank you so much. And listening to all that just makes my head spin. And so much of that, of course, is not even happening right now, because we've gone through so much that when I hear about travel and all these things, I'm like, oh, yes, that's my alter ego, the one that was a couple of years ago before COVID. But it's great to be back. And thank you so much for having me.
No, thank you. Thank you for being here. So, and there's even more to you than what we just that you just covered, the Bali Lama. I mean, the list goes on. So let's kind of start at the very beginning, because you kind of, grew up in this industry. Like that's just,
Yes.
so kind of talk about your journey over the years and what's currently going on. I know you mentioned an academy right before we got on the call today. So kind of give the broad overview of Candy's
I'll give
journey.
you the cliff notes. How about that? Well, I just celebrated 40 years at the chair. And by the way, I'm still at the chair. That's the thing that people, are like, huh? Are you kidding? So I still work in the salon 3 days a week, seeing guests. And I love that part of my business. And so I'm hoping that today, with the salon owners and the people that are tuning in, I can have some relevancy on why I stayed there and why I stayed that course. But the very cliff notes of Candy Shaw is pretty simple. I'm a simple girl. I never went to beauty school. I never went to college. In Georgia, you don't have to go to beauty school. So I was lucky enough to train from my father and also in Europe. And so it's been a really amazing journey. I developed, of course, Sunlight's balayage. I'm known as being the Bali Lama. And I have an academy here in Atlanta where I do continuing education on French cutting and balayage. So my salon in Atlanta is 50 chairs. So, I mean, you want to talk about man handling something or woman handling something during COVID, that was quite the undertaking, of just how to stay alive and thrive and survive like everybody was trying to. But really, one of the great things I think, or the things that I like to talk about, is that I'm a mother, I'm a grandmother, I'm married to the same man 33 years, and I'm really proud of that. I'm proud of my family and my relationship. And that is really what has taken me to the place that I am. Sunlights I built for my family, not for the quick buck, but really as a niche because I felt like balayage was so important. And at the time, we just didn't have anything to paint with. So that's kind of the quick cliff notes of who I am. And, so fire away and let's try to, dust off some of these cobwebs and get you some good answers to your questions.
I love that. So, wow, so many things just came from what you just said, but you developed, Sunlight's balayage, and
Right.
everybody has those good ideas and thoughts of what could make this industry better. So how did that process go for you? Like, what was that like?
Well, very tough. I said that I built a foundation on all the bricks that were thrown at me. Literally, I'm standing on top of all the bricks that were thrown at me as a woman in this industry. One of my big things is I'm always trying to get women out of the break room and into the boardroom. You had mentioned that I'm on Intercoiffure's board. Sit on the board of Beauty Changes Lives. I'm an advisory council on the board for PBA, and everywhere I can get my foothold in the door, I think it's really relevant and very important. But Sunlights was kind of created on a no. It was a no, thank you, from a company who I approached to say, we need a balayage lightener. Like balayage is big time. And it was like, no, balayage is just kind of a trend, it's going to go away. And I said, no, it's like the little black dress. It's not going anywhere. So I don't know if you know this or not, but I'm obviously born and raised in Georgia. And so our natural resource in Georgia is red Georgia clay. And so being just a painter for so long and, trying to paint with different products on the hair, it came to me like, why don't I put clay in lightener? Wouldn't that be like a really cool thing? Like to create how people do farm to table. How about like farm to hair? Right. So I thought it would be a cool, interesting thing to work with. And so I spent 2 years in research and development after being told no, and came up with Sunlights, the birth of Sunlights. And I've got to be honest with you, at the time, I really kind of recreated it with the thought, if it fails, I'll just suck it all up in my own salon. We'll just use the product in my own salon. So, that was kind of my hip pocket risk thought process. Really, a very uneducated thought process, I will say now, after 8 years of being in this. But I thought, you know what? If it fails, it's okay. I'll just use it myself, if it doesn't really take off. But I guess the rest, they say, is history. We're distributing the product in 12 countries now and all over the United States. And I built the academy simply because it's, balayage needs training. It's not something you just pick up a Milady's book or you watch a YouTube video and think you're going to master it. So it's definitely a hands-on skill that you have to learn in the classroom personally. So that's kind of the birth of why balayage, or why Sunlights was born. Was I was painting for 25 years and just was struggling, with a good product that wasn't making spots and dots and doing all those kinds of things that we struggled with. So I just made it myself.
Absolutely. Well, congratulations on all of your success. But what I love there is that you were okay to fail.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And I think that a lot of times that fear of failure prevents us from moving in the right direction, prevents us from, taking that chance that clearly, your product has changed the industry. So talk to that, business leader, business owner, that fear is preventing them from moving forward.
Well, I want to answer that or speak to that in two ways. One thing I want to say is, if it really was easy, everybody would do it. So let's just start there. Okay. I want to be very honest because I get the calls a lot. I'm an entrepreneur at heart. I mean, I'm just a serial entrepreneur. Everything I want to do is take a risk over here. And my team, has the fishing pole, just dragging me back, like, slow down, Candy. I had a learning disability growing up, dyslexia. And so that's why I never went to college and never went to beauty school, because I could barely pass in high school. I cut hair in the locker room for math homework, really. And that's the true story. I went to a school that had a hair code. So failure just was never an option for me. I just gutted it out through grit and grind and figuring out how to reinvent myself along the way, because of this learning disability and because of being this person who was always never good enough like everyone else and couldn't do the things that other people could do. Right. I just don't live in a lot of fear, and it's just how I'm built. And I think it's just because of my struggles growing up. I'm like, if I fail, okay, big deal. Get up, go ahead. You can try something else. I mean, and the no, when I said this company was built on a no, I really mean that. No does not mean never. It just means not right now, and sometimes it just means maybe. And so I love a good no. As a matter of fact, if you haven't told me no, you're a nobody, really. I mean, I really say that with all due respect. Like, I have asked for things along the way in my career that I outwardly expected no, but I know it's opening a door to the potential of a yes. And so I really feel that we live very comfortably in this industry, where the only way, like, the phone separates us from putting ourselves out there. It's sort of our mask, if you will, you know, and it allows us to take risk that we never took before. Don't you agree? Like social media is a risk-taking vehicle that has or a outlet that has allowed us that. But I think for me, you know, what does the commercial say? Like, never let them see you sweat or something like that, you know? I mean, I feel like if you don't, you know, no falls, no balls, you know, you have to have the ability to fall down because that's when you're stretching. That's when you're becoming your best personal self, you know? And I don't mean that I'm the lady that gets in the car and doesn't wear a seatbelt. I mean, I'm very calculated in a lot of the things and moves that I make. I'm very conservative in a lot of ways. You know, how I spend money. I'm very conservative and very calculated in that. But when it comes to being creative, I feel like you have to, you know, push the envelope, step out of your box, do things unique, because you're not going to be remembered if you don't really.
So true. And you talked about, you know, you have to fall down. And what I want to talk about is, you know, sadly, after COVID, our industry, a lot of people have closed their doors, unfortunately. But you started off with saying your salon has 50 chairs.
Mm-hmm.
So how, you know, what shifts and pivots have you had to make in your salon and your leadership to keep thriving with 50 chairs?
Well, let me just say to all of you out there, I too struggled and I too went through the same things. My mother used to say it best. I would call sometimes and I would say, "Oh my gosh, Mom, I can't believe this is $100. This is $200." She said, "Honey, when you get older, it's just another zero." And I really believe that. Like, if you have 50 chairs, it's just another zero. I have the same challenges as someone with a 4 chair, someone with 1 chair. I have the same identical challenges. They're just escalated by a greater risk of all the things that come along with running that. But I got to tell you, the thing that kept me alive is that I am a hairdresser and I work in my business and I am there and I'm accounted for. And, you know, a lot of times when I'm teaching, I get in the car with a salon owner and they'll say to me, I'll say to them, "Hey, how can I help your staff? What can I do for you?" And they'll go, "You know what? I just need you to motivate my people." And I say to them, "Well, are you going to take my class?" And they go, "Oh, no, 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 I'm not taking your class. I mean, I brought you in to teach them, you know." And I go, "Well, there's your first problem." Because if you're not leading by example, I can't motivate your people, you know? And I think that COVID, I just led by example. I got in the trenches with my people. I adopt a word every year. And this word, believe it or not, before COVID last year, my word was vulnerability, which was really a great word, not knowing that in March, I'd be more vulnerable, March of 2019, than I've ever been in my life. I never worked harder in my life than I did through all of this, like everyone. But I think what I did was I led with love. You know, I really did. I led with love because my father said to me, Pooh, it's my nickname. He said, "You know, you don't have a warehouse full of tomatoes. Why are you worried? You're not going to rot. You're not going to rot. Like your products aren't going to rot on the shelf. You're going to miss some haircuts. You're going to miss some hair colors. You'll make that up, right? You'll make that up. You'll make it up in other ways and you'll get back on board." Did I lose people? Absolutely. Did people retire? Absolutely. Did people move on and become independents and use this as a reason to shift? Absolutely. I was, you know, I didn't go unscathed. But what I did know is it gave me an incredible opportunity to really reach down and reach back and change things about how we were running our business. And I'm really proud to say that I really like where we're at. Would I like our numbers a little bigger? Of course, like everyone would. We're all struggling for talent now. We're all vetting for the same talent. But I think what I love is that I can walk into my salon as a leader And I really know that the people that are standing there, are my loyal warriors. They're really the soldiers that came through the storm. And so my love for that has really changed. It's really pivoted in how I focus and what I'm focusing on in my business.
I love that you brought up staffing and hiring. The
Mhm.
the challenge that we're all currently facing. So how have you kind of stayed ahead of that? And what does that hiring process look like? Because I couldn't imagine trying to staff for 50 chairs. It blows my mind.
Yeah. Well, yes, and all that. And I have to giggle because back in the 80s, that was the trend. It was like bigger, better, bigger, better, bigger, better. And now it's like, well, let's see. I wonder how we could repurpose that area. But the reality is, yes, we're all going through those same things. And uh-oh, I lost an ear pod. No, I got it. I found it. It's in my hair. We're all going through the same thing. And, I have the good fortune of sitting on, like I said, some places of where I get a lot of answers, I guess is a really wonderful way to put it. And I kind of break bread with a lot of these very smart people that are much smarter than I am. But I tell you this, one thing that really drives me crazy, and this is for you, Tina Black, I'm going to say this for you, all right, is that salon owner that calls you up and says, hey, can you send me all your best people to apply for a job here? And yet you don't step foot in the doors of any beauty institutions to help them. And I mean, that's just like, that's a license that's just a license for failure right there, 1000%. And I know that about beauty schools, beauty institutions, cosmetology schools, esthetician schools, nail artist schools. You think that you are going to walk in there with a big name like Jamison Shaw Hairdressers, top salon in Atlanta, best of Atlanta, 50 chair salon. My biggest competitor first of all, one of the biggest hair salons and competitors in this country is 1 mile from my salon, Van Council, from Van Michael Salons. I just had dinner with him on Saturday night, one of my dear friends. And, we're all vetting for the same top graduates out of school, but you can't expect to be the best and expect to hire the best if you don't walk the walk. So I would say to you right now is dust off your tools and get your butt over to these schools and give back. That is the biggest challenge and by the way, quit griping about it. Quit complaining about the product that beauty school is putting out. If be part of the solution, not the problem, and I think we've really got fat and happy. I got to admit, all of us, where I'm going to say that there were times when I was getting 30, 40 applications a month, of people coming to try to work in our business. Gone are those days, but what has kept me alive more than anything is being an educator and being in the classroom and giving back my skills and sharing. There was a time in the 80s where we wouldn't want to tell anybody our trade secrets. And in the 90s, I decided, oh boy, that's not going to work. That's certainly not going to work. And in the year 2000, I said, okay, I'm going to come at it from a different perspective. I'm actually going to be friends with all of my competitors. So I created an Atlanta salon owners group that I know Tina is very aware of, and she actually created it in her town, to where I literally hang out with all of the people who are like-minded, because, in that force, we are greater and we are stronger. We are just stronger together. And now it's even more relevant. COVID, are you kidding? I was on the phone with them every single day. What are you doing? Where are you getting your money from? How, are you letting people go? Are you wearing a mask? Are you not wearing a mask? Are you, how are you doing your sanitizing? I mean, if it had not been for my Atlanta salon owning friends, I don't know that I would have survived either. I mean, so yeah, hiring. It's a big hot topic. But I do think that Georgia does have an advantage because we can do an apprenticeship program and not have to go to school. Not that I don't believe in school, but it at least gives me an opportunity to throw a few noodles to the wall and hopefully they stick, because there's a huge learning curve in becoming a successful stylist. Huge learning curve, right?
Absolutely. And what I love is earlier you talked about relationships and leading with love, and then you just talked about the Atlanta Salon Owners Group and how your biggest competition is 1 mile away from you, and you guys just had dinner.
Yeah.
That, so talk about, the power of relationships and the impact that it's had on your success and your career, and to that salon owner that views their competition that's down the street as the worst person in the world, and they refuse, like you said, trade secrets we're not sharing, so how do they overcome that?
Well, I have to give a shout out to Intercoiffure, because Intercoiffure is birthed on, if you don't know about it, look it up, but it's basically all the top leading salon owners that don't lease stations or don't rent booths. It's people who are commission-based hair salons. And I say that because, everybody's got a different business model. And have I lost staff to opening salons? Have I lost staff to booth renting? Have I lost staff to that? Absolutely. I've got scars to prove it all. But, when in Rome, do as the Romans do, right? And so for me, I felt like, I had to break down these barriers of you're my competition. There's enough soup to serve everyone. And I feel like that's very small-minded thinking. If you look at how corporate America, if you look at the top leading corporations in the world right now, they buy up each other. They're conglomerates, and they basically, all one bank ends up being a culmination of 10 banks that got bought up. So my thought process was, I've got to stay friends with these folks. I've got to, we got to all work in tandem together. So what did I do? I just picked up the phone. You remember that thing right there, that actually is a relationship builder. I don't text people. I call people. I talk to people. I go meet them for coffee. I go have lunch with them. I go have dinner with them. This is how you build relationships, and yeah, sure, we text and we email, of course. But I think, you're only as good as the last person who you invested in. And I think your focus just has to be, if I wanted to learn something, I pick up the phone and I call someone, you're doing it better than me. Help me be better. Because in the end, we all are better, and I hope that these podcasts that you guys are doing and the way that you're reaching back to these salon owners, they realize that if you think they're your competition, you're wrong. You are your competition, and I just want to be better today than I was yesterday, and hope to hell I'm better tomorrow. And that's really the philosophy I run my business by.
I love that. And something, that you said, you want to be better today than you were yesterday. So, one question is what would your younger self what do you wish you could tell your younger self?
Spend more time really building relationships with some of the industry icons, like get my butt backstage more. Obviously I do trade shows and I'm, do stage work, whatever, big deal, ho, whatever. But I wish I had taken those opportunities more, that I had slowed down to speed up, really, and I slowed down and learned from some of those greats that were out there, because they're sort of a dying breed, really. I know that's a morbid thing to say, but it's true. If I was a young stylist right now, I would take every opportunity I could to work for free, go for free, do everything I could. Like I would invite myself to everything I could. Like, can I just come hang out with you for the day in a salon? Can I just, I'll sweep your hair, I'll hold your bobby pin, I will keep my mouth shut, I will do anything to shadow the greats. And that would be what I would tell my younger self, is to do more of that. I wouldn't tell my younger self to take more risk, because I definitely was a rebel without a cause. My parents would certainly tell you that, but I took a lot of risk, but I got a lot of things right. I surrounded myself with smarter people than I was, which I think is important. If you are a leader out there and you don't have somebody who you've hired to your weakness, you're doing it wrong. You don't need to hire, I don't hire candies. I'm not interested in them. I hire people stronger than I am in certain places I'm weak, which really helps me. And I use my ears in direct proportion to my mouth, even though I'm talking a lot right now. I listen with intent to learn. So when I enter the boardroom, or I enter my conference room here that I'm sitting in my academy here in Atlanta, I come in with my ears and eyes open, and I let people bring me solutions and not problems. And they say my nickname is the Bali Llama, so it's always no drama for the llama. I don't subscribe to that channel. I would tell my younger self to get out of the broke room, which is the break room. Get out of the broke room, quit making excuses. Don't make excuses. Have accountability, own it. Own your mistakes. Mistakes are great. Mistakes are great lessons. When you lose, don't lose the lesson. So I would just kind of maybe pep talk her a little bit more. I actually have a letter that I finish a lot of my shows with, that I wrote to my 18-year-old self.
Wow.
And I read that letter at the end of my show about, who I was in my 20s, my 30s, my 40s, my 50s, and moving into my 60s. I can't even believe I'm saying that word, but I think people really need to have those conversations earlier on, about what they expect from themselves. That would be a good one too.
I when you just talked about the younger generation, and you talked about the greats, and yes, I definitely feel you on that the industry greats have shifted, and people view Insta famous as the new greats. They think one picture is going to get them success, and not reaching out to the greats. So talk a little to that generation that, like you said, volunteer your time and sweep the hair. However, what they're seeing is that one picture, that one haircut that might have taken 4 weeks to get right, but they see that one picture, and it almost shapes their mentality that they can do that as well, versus, like you said, go to the actual shows, go behind stage. So talk to that person real quick.
Well, I think that's such a true thing that we all struggle with. I mean, in my generation. But I will say, for the youth out there, they're amazing. They have great ideas, and they are much greater risk takers than we were. But they also have a vehicle to do it on, which is the other part. And so I don't want to take anything away from that, because we have to shift and pivot. One thing I'm not going to be is angry at the youth, because I want to surround myself with people who are inspiring me to stay young and to stay relevant. But what I would say to you is, to use the word icon, you better have at least 30 years in your pedigree for it to come out of my mouth. To be iconic is more than a picture. It's how you've left the world a better place than you found it. It's how you've impacted the industry in ways that are measurable, not by likes, not by taps, not by, views, but the ways that are measurable. And the ways that are measurable is I'm only as good as the last student I taught. You know, if I don't have a misty-eyed student in my classroom that gives me the tears because they finally broke through and now understand something, then for me, I've not done my job. But, you know, you'll get really far in life if you quit worrying about who gets the credit. You know, it took me a long time to learn that hard lesson because, you know, it was like, no, I did it. I did it. I did it. Look, I have the award to approve it. You know, I'm at a place in my life, I'm so peaceful. You know, I entered NAHA for the first time in my life this year, which is like crazy, right? And I only did it because they have an educator category. Because to me, it wasn't about nothing wrong with it. I mean, I think it's fantastic. I think it's amazing. But it wasn't about me being known for just a picture. It was for me being known for helping people create a greater picture of success. And so I would say out there, don't let the perspective of your phone influence you to not be your best personal self. Everyone has a brand. Make your own. Don't follow someone else's and try to replicate or try to be just like them. Just make your own. Your voice is worth hearing, and be okay with not being perfect. And I think that really is where the magic happens.
Perfectly put. You talked about, you know, get out of the break room and into the boardroom, and clearly you've done that. So what does that journey look like? And talk a little bit about the boards that you are on, in case any of our listeners are interested in getting involved.
Well, I would say get involved with every board and everything that you possibly have the time to commit to. It is definitely a time commitment. But, you know, my daddy always taught me a lot of things. I quote him all the time. And that is, when you're pointing one finger this way, you got three more pointing right back at you. So I live my life being a good finder. And, you know, for me to point a finger and say, well, they could do this better and they could do that better. I thought, you know, put your money where your mouth is, Candy. If you really think that beauty does change lives, why don't you get in there and get in the trenches with these people and try to help them? You know, use your platform to help them. You know, if the PBA and all the lobbying and licensing really bothers you, get your butt out there and listen to what they have to say and see what you can do in your city and your country to help that. If intercoiffure really is something that you love and it's your family, go and help your family. So it was really easy decisions for me. So maybe in your town, you want to be on the board of your church or your school or your beauty college, or even something you love. I say get involved, because that's how you make those relationships and create wonderful resources for you to learn. Like, I'm not on these because I think I'm Candy Shaw and I should be on this. I'm on these because, like, I learn. You know, I learn so much, and that really helps my company thrive. Really, I mean, I bring so many best practices back into my own company from other people that before I was on it were just somebody I knew from California that I just really didn't know. So it's really an amazing resource. I highly recommend it.
You just hit on something. You talked about, you know, you're still continuing to learn and continue to grow, and you've been in this industry for, you know, 40 years. So talk about the importance of investing in the growth of yourself and the importance of finding those mentors. And, you know, you said it perfectly. Find that person that already is there and call them and say how, you know. So talk about that, because I think it goes back to, you know, we talked about fear before, and I think fear of not knowing or not feeling good enough, that they would rather, you know, pretend that they know it all versus humbling themselves and reaching out to the people that have already achieved that.
Oh gosh, I love this question. First of all, fear is lack of knowledge. That's all it is. It's just lack of knowledge. You just don't have enough knowledge. That's why you fear it. But you are so right. So Beauty Changes Lives has this mentorship program, right? So I only speak to it because I love mentoring people. And I've been calling all these folks to get them to mentor. And, sometimes I get the, oh, okay, well, what does it take? I'm like, it takes nothing. It takes for you to just wake up and help somebody, and so I agree with you, like having a mentor, picking up that phone, overcoming all of that is so important. If we don't start mentoring the youth and this next generation, we are not going to be in a pretty place in the next 10 years. Beauty school enrollment is flat. Things are very flat in our industry, and we've got to get back in and invest some time. When COVID happened, what our industry needed was just a big fat hug from our mama, right? That's all we needed was just a big fat hug. So I really feel like, that's how I learned. I was I was mentored. I was taught by people. I never went to school. So I literally would go ask them, okay, you're okay, Sharon Blaine, you are the updo queen. You are the queen. Teach me how you do this. So I really would say to anybody out there, there's mentors right over your shoulder. There are people in business that mentor me that aren't hairdressers. So it's not, you don't run your business just from other hairdressers' advice or other hairstylist advice. You run your business from your banker's advice, from your lawyer's advice, from someone who opened a restaurant, someone who owns a art gallery. You get advice from so many outlets. And so you really need to take advantage of that and speak up, right? I just think I would just tell everybody to ask. When I'm training a new protege in my salon, I tell them this: I'm not training robots. I'm training thinkers. I need you to think. You got to think. In order to be the best at your craft, yes, you got to go to class. Yes, you got to sign up. You got to be entrenched in every bit of education possible that's out there, but you also got to think. Your chair is your own restaurant. Yes, you work under the umbrella of a 50-chair salon, but why is somebody more successful than someone's right next to them? They have all the same capabilities and the same resources. Why are they more successful? Their haircut is not that much better. Their hair color is really not that much better. It's what they do with their thinking process to run a business. I love it when somebody says, well, I'm not in the sales business. I didn't sign up to sell retail. I'm like, really? You're not? Because if you don't think selling yourself to become a successful hairdresser is a business, you're foolish, because you're just going to be a starving artist for the rest of your career. I say, don't go get a job. Job stands for just above broke. Go get a career and invest every bit of time and energy into that career. And then when the flowers bloom, the bees will appear. It's what will happen to you.
That's awesome. Talk a little bit about that. Yes, you are in sales as a stylist, because I think that, like, I love that you brought that up, because a lot of people do exactly what you just did, and you said it wasn't even about retail. There's so, like, you're constantly selling yourself in this industry. So kind of dive a little deeper into that.
I mean, first of all, what is this? This is a calling card. It's a business card. It's a way that we use it to our advantage at every level. And you don't have to be good at it. You just have to participate. So number one, let's just start there, because, I played a lot of masters. So when it came the social media thought, I thought, oh God, what am I going to do? I'm too old for this. Well, I'm telling you, you're not. You don't have to be good. You just have to participate. Number one. Number two, what do we sell for a living? Has anybody ever asked you that question? We don't sell a haircut. We don't sell a hair color. We sell happiness. We just sell happiness. We sell tenderness. We just give people hope. They hope, hope it looks good. I hope it doesn't go curly. I hope it stays straight. I hope it looks shiny. All it is hope. And when we have a bottle of soap, it's just hope in a bottle, I hope it does what I think it's going to do. I mean, how many people really care about the ingredients? Very small portion of your consumer care about the ingredients. They just want to replicate you in their bathroom. So your shampoo is your calling card in their shower that's looking at them every single day and reminding them that they need to come and be a part of that process. I work at the chair. I used to see 25, 35 guests a day. I'm down to maybe 18, 20, 22 a day now with COVID. And, I just throw one big ass dinner party all day long, right? That's all I do. I mean, I just make people feel special. I sell them happiness. I give them purpose. I make them feel heard. Yeah, I'm a French cutter and balayage artist, and I'd like to think I'm pretty good at it. But I've got people in my own salon that probably do it better than I do. It doesn't matter to me. I don't necessarily need to be at the top of the mountain holding the flag. I just want to get everybody up there with me, So as a leader, bring your people with you and celebrate the success. What gets rewarded gets repeated. So you need to really celebrate your people. And I think that also falls into celebrating your guests and going a little leveling up a little bit and doing something a little bit more than they can't get down the street. Why is my competitor successful? Why am I successful? We both have two completely different songs we're singing, but they both work, right? So find your music and get in there and sing it. And I think if you do, you'll be known for that, really.
Well, I think the question that everybody is thinking at this moment is, how does Candy do it all? Behind the chair, 3 days a week, 20 plus guests, on the board, still a mom, a grandma. Like, what does your time management look like?
Well, I first want to say I'm not perfect at it. And I give myself permission to fail. I give myself permission to fall. I give myself permission to sometimes cancel, which I know I had to do on you. I give myself permission to not beat myself up on those moments when I can't rise to the occasion. So I would say to all of you, I do not have an S on my chest. I do fail. I do fall. I do make mistakes. I do drop the ball. But I will never start an email saying, oh, I'm so sorry. I just was busy. Because guess what? Everybody's busy. What I do is I just politely ask for forgiveness when I can't do it. And I surround myself with great people that help me. I learned the value of the word no, because it has a lot of value. Sometimes I say no to things, no, I'm so sorry. I would love to do that, but I can't give it the time that it deserves right now. So I try to manage that. Because I'm dyslexic, one of the gifts that came with it is I'm very, very organized, which I think has just helped me, along the way. I'm not disorganized. I'm very organized, but I'm still very old school about a lot of things, My son laughs at me because I still have the little black calendar, that I write everything down. He's like, Mom, you got your Outlook and you got your phone. I go, the phone doesn't tell me about my energy level. When I open a calendar and I look at the month of November, I can see my energy throughout that entire calendar. Because with every moment that I say yes, that is energy coming away from something else. And if I don't manage that energy correctly, I'm going to fall flat on my noggin. And so I already know that about Candy. Like, for instance, when I travel on the road, and I just did Premiere Show, which is the first show in 2 years, really 20 months that I did, I get all these invitations. Oh, come to this award show. Can you do this? Can you do that? Come meet us for drinks. Go to dinner. And I look at them and I say, you know what? I'm so honored that you ask, but I have to manage my time and I have to manage my energy. And I have 120 students that are coming to my classroom tomorrow that are relying on me. And if I'm going to fly with the eagles in the morning, I can't hoot with the owls at night, and I just can't, and I really appreciate that. But I know where I want to be my best, and I know where I have to say no. So that's how I do it. I just say no a lot.
Such great advice. And how can people, get in touch with you? How can they, look into your academy and, follow you on Instagram and stuff like that?
Well, the easiest way is at the Bali Llama, which I got named by a student, said that I was like the Dalai Lama. So they call me the Bali Llama. So that's where that is. Facebook is Candy Shaw. Our academy is Sunlight's Balayage. You could just go to our website and click on find a class. I've got 120 educators all over the country that can bring balayage education straight to you, straight to your school. If you're out there, we would love to teach for the schools. We want to help as much. I built Sunlight's Balayage on the notion of just giving back. And DM me. Guess what? I still answer all of that. Candy at sunlightsbalayage.com is my email. And I would love to answer any questions for you and help any of your salon owners out there if you want to know more about being involved. I mean, that's what it's all about. I just want to leave it better than I entered it. Not that I found it, because I found it in a great place, but I just, if I can help anybody, please just feel free to pick up the phone.
I love that. Well, thank you, Candy, so much for joining us today. What is that final little golden nugget, because you've dropped a bunch of them today, that you want to leave with the salon leaders?
Oh gosh, there's so many, but I think the biggest one I would say, well, actually I have two. Well, number one is, when you're green, you will grow. And when you think you're ripe, you will rot. So stay a student. I go to work a student every day. And if you're leading, also remember that people do what you inspect, not what you expect. So you need to teach them your expectations so they don't let you down. And that would be my advice to the salon owners out there.
Awesome. Well, thank you again, Candy, for scheduling this with us and taking time from your extremely busy schedule to spend the past hour with us. We appreciate you and all that you do for the industry.
And I appreciate you guys doing this. Give my love to Tina, and thank you for always asking me. And I hope you'll ask me back in 2022.
Of course. Thank you, Candy. Have a great day.
Have a great day. Bye.